you are aware that there's an invention called television, and on this invention they show shows, right?
Who's bad?
I gotta be honest, finding good TV show villain songs was actually kind of hard. Villain songs in and of themselves are pretty common in shows with musical elements. However, the ones that are actually worth listening to are a much rarer breed. But to be fair, these shows usually don't have the budget and or resources to consistently deliver standout musical numbers. Like, good musical numbers.
Once a fearsome pirate ruled the seven seas. He was your great-great-great-grandpappy, Prince Kirby.
That show is the definition of cursed.
Hence why I feel it's important to highlight the times when TV shows truly knock it out of the park. Same rules as before apply, except this time we can allow Disney, so let's jump in.
Living La Furiosa.
It's funny. For all the songs Steven Universe gave us, they're surprisingly lacking in villain songs. One of the only other ones I could think of was What's the Use of Feeling Blue? That one is great in its own right. A haunting, solemn lament that brought the big bad tyrants of Homeworld to a sympathetic light and shows two sides of coping with a major loss. However, for this list,
Sing something with a little bounce in it.
That's right, I heard the story over and over again. Gee, it's swell to finally meet her other friend.
I decided to go with this chaotic little number from the TV movie Other Friends. To set the scene, Spinel, an unhinged gem who looks like a fusion of Jenny Wakeman, Maka Albarn, and Raggedy Ann, just arrived on Earth and is hellbent on putting an end to Steven's little happily ever after story. The minute she drops in, she wastes no time running circles around the crystal gems through song. And it's like something out of Cuphead. A fast-paced electro-jazz ragtime number coupled with Spinel's wild rubber hose animation makes the scene a zany, uneasy goldmine, visually and musically. Oh, and the lyrics.
Who am I? Who am I? What are you even saying? I'm the loser of the game. You didn't know you were playing. Let's play another game. This time I got to win. Flag on the line. Winner takes all. Ready or not, let's begin.
Yep, she's got a huge chip on her shoulder over being abandoned by Steven's mom, Pink Diamond. But when you see her side of the story, can you really blame her? Spinel was supposed to be her best friend, but then Pink just abandoned her to go off on her little disassembling the establishment adventure and just never came back. I'll just say that overall, Other Friends is a bouncing, eerie, spiteful good time. However, it feels a little too short. It's like going to a 5-star restaurant. The food is delicious, but the portion is so small that you don't feel full. Though in a way, I think that actually works in this case. It doesn't waste any time showing that Spinel's a vindictive psycho. It dives right into the movie's main conflict and gives us a very vague taste of the gem's troubled past later on. And honestly, as I said, I could actually see this as a lost Cuphead song. They're pretty much one and the same.
Let's brawl, we'll have a ball. One-on-one and I'll fight you. Step up to the plate tonight.
Living La Furiosa.
A key reason we enjoy evil characters is that despite how morally bankrupt they are, we either get a kick out of the style or just found them to be really well written and charismatic. However, there's a fine line we usually don't cross when it comes to evil. We tend to shrug off broader actions like destruction and, depending on the context, murder, but something a bit more relevant like, say, genocide or racism isn't a subject that's easy to take lightly, let alone be put in mainstream form without seeming like propaganda. So imagine having one of the main characters of your show not only crossing that line, but playing jump rope with that line. When it comes to South Park, you either get a relevant issue addressed via exaggerated satire, or just crass and shocking antics because vulgar humor funny. This, well,
There are too many minorities. At my water park. This was our land, our dream. And they've taken it all away.
It's just so awful.
Anyone who's aware of how
If you had a chance right now to go back in time and stop Hitler, wouldn't you do it? I mean, I personally wouldn't stop him because I think it was awesome.
closed-minded Cartman is, wouldn't be surprised to have him drop a diss track more shallow than a grain-sized puddle, but it doesn't make it any less uncomfortable. Yet, why do we find this funny? We obviously don't condone his awful behavior, but there's something so hilariously surreal about it. Maybe it's the irony of sympathetic melodies playing over these abhorrent lyrics, or maybe it's the shock factor that they broadcasted something like this on TV at all.
Where did they all come from? Why can't they leave this land alone?
Minorities isn't exactly a good song. The lyrics are mindless and Cartman's singing is less than a selective preference. But the simple, jarring implications behind it is all it takes to paint this coarse symphony as one of the more hilarious villain songs.
I know some people are going to disagree with this placement, but in my mind, this does count as a villain song. Assuming you don't agree with what he's saying.
Poor Wander Over Yonder. Arguably one of Disney's most underrated cartoons of the last decade, cut short in its prime. Along with it being beautifully animated, it brought with it an entourage of charming characters, plenty of heartfelt moments, and as for the humor...
Animation is so hard! People who do this for a living deserve more credit and respect!
Starting from season 2, they brought in a new player to spice things up, Lord Dominator. And unlike Hater, who's a laughably incompetent man-child, Dominator is scary good at her job. She has all the other baddies at her mercy, she's got a full-blown scheme to destroy the whole galaxy, and she's loving every second of it like an adrenaline junkie. Naturally, she's gotta flaunt her success, so why not in a sultry, menacing waltz?
I'm not the damsel in distress. I'm not your girlfriend or the frightened princess. I'm not a little bird who needs your help to fly. Nope. I'm the bad guy.
Wander and Hater think they've got Dominator all figured out. Wander, bless his little heart, sees her as a new friend, while Hater sees her as his waifu. Yeah, no, Dominator ain't having any of that crap. She's no one's girlfriend, buddy, or some helpless damsel. No, she's bad to the bone and loving every second of it.
To watch a planet shrivel up and die. Oh, it's thrilling to be a villain. I destroy their homes and then I watch them cry.
I guess it's true. Hell hath no fury like a woman's song. I don't know if there's much I can say about this one. It's menacing, it's empowering, it shows you the follies of underestimating someone. Again, it makes me sad that the show ended so soon because I really want to know where they could have gone with Dominator's character once her whole empire and bravado's been shattered. Does she try and start a new uprising? Does she start a redemption arc? These are questions we'll never know the answer to because Disney robbed us of a third season.
The thing is that shows need to end. They cannot and should not last forever, lest they risk seasonal rot. But in this case, would one more season be bad?
It is fascinating how some people can't leave well enough alone. It's generally agreed that Danny Phantom was one of the best cartoons of the mid-2000s, and at the time, it seemed Butch Hartman could do no wrong.
At last the roof goes on and nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong.
Yeah, I won't get into it here, that creepy reading does a better job at that than I ever will, but I'll just say that a lot of people were not happy when Hartman came out saying that the ghosts in Danny Phantom were just monsters and not the souls of the dearly departed.
Trust me, far from the worst thing he'll do.
This stance is made even stranger when you consider the lyrics to this song, lyrics he allegedly wrote. You Will Remember is sung by Ember McLean in the show and given voice by Robin Kermsey. Crimpsey, I'm really sorry. The singer herself said the song reminded her of 50s rock, and I don't disagree. It's a little too smooth and subdued to be a power ballad, but it's still very chilling and exceptionally well performed. And the story presented to us by the lyrics is pretty hard to miss.
To you, I did surrender. 2 weeks, you didn't come. Your life goes on without me. My life, a losing game. Like dead trees in cold December. Nothing but ashes remain.
In that context, you can't help but feel sorry for Ember. Is it any wonder why she came back as a vengeful spirit looking to make everyone pay attention to her? Don't worry, Ember. I, for one, will remember you. Codename Kids Next Door, an oft-forgotten gem from Cartoon Network's golden age that took the classic kids versus adult conflict to a huge creative level. Aside from the colorful rogues gallery, stunning scenery, and hilarious pop culture references, a lot of that creativity comes from the show's experimental episodes. These can include a POV episode with different art styles, an entire story told through scoring and no dialogue or sound effects, and today's little art project gone right, Operation Food Fight. The story is simple enough. Grandma Stuff'em, an overbearing German lady who cooks disgusting living food, tries harder than ever to get our K&D operatives to eat her revolting concoctions. When they refuse, she brings out a giant sandwich monster to eat them instead, and it all leads up to an insane brawl with a gigantic, muscular hamster?
When I described the story as simple earlier, simple is relative.
Yeah, when K&D got weird, it got really weird. In this case, though, it got weird in the best way, as they turned this bizarre story into a heavy metal rock opera. Teaming up with the metal band Gwar, they actually rewrote 3 of their songs into 2.5 slapping songs, all sung by Grandma herself. What else needs to be said? These songs go hard. From the heart-pumping music to the silly satirized lyrics, all beautifully topped off with great Lyle Griffin's epic singing voice.
Kids were not put on this earth to nibble. You all must be helpless and sad. That way you can't get yourself in trouble. While Grandma gets to feed you goodies right.
She's one of the best voice actors and singers in the business. Change my mind.
You cannot.
Honestly, this song is further proof that we need more metal villain songs out there. They get your heart pumping, your head banging, and can give silly plot-like force-feeding kids a much more grandiose feel. Seriously, try this story with any other genre, and I don't think it would have nearly as much oomph. And the fact that they fit it all in just 10 minutes really shows that there was a lot of love put into the songs, the episode, and the show overall. Now, if only present-day Cartoon Network could give some of that love back and greenlight the sequel series.
Seriously, the creator himself is totally on board with this project. I mean, reboot series are popping up left and right. Why not do it? Can't do any worse than these two. Trust me. Man, Joss Whedon is so into that superhero thing. He even made one a musical.
Yeah, back in 2008, Joss Whedon directed and co-wrote a 3-episode miniseries called Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog, starring Neil Patrick Harris and his old Firefly star, Nathan Fillion. Harris, who plays Dr. Horrible, is a supervillain trying to enter the evil League of Evil, but is constantly stopped by his arch-nemesis, Captain Hammer, played by Fillion. During one of his evil plots, he was stopped by Hammer and caused the Evil League of Evil to prevent his membership unless he kills someone. Well, Horrible does have a PhD in horribleness, but he's not a big fan of killing people, especially since he's trying to impress his crush Penny, played by Felicia Day, who's a philanthropist and would hate this. However, Hammer is dating Penny and is only using her for sex and to piss off Horrible. So, Horrible gets an idea on who to kill.
This appeared as a moral dilemma, cause at first it was weird, though I swore to eliminate the worst of the plague that devoured humanity. It's true, I was vague on the how, so how can it be that you have shown me the light.
Seeing how Hammer actually is, Horrible doesn't really feel bad trying to kill Hammer, especially with how bad Hammer usually treats Horrible.
All the times that you beat me unconscious, I forgive. All the crimes incomplete, listen, honestly, I'll live. Mr. Cool, Mr. Right, Mr. Know-It-All is through. Now the future's so bright, and I owe it all to you, who showed me the light.
Now what about Penny? Well, Horrible kind of has a twisted idea how to get her affection.
And Penny will see the evil me, not a joke, not a dork, not a failure. And she may cry, but her tears will dry when I hand her the keys to a shiny new Australia.
I'd say Australia being taken over by a supervillain is a little unrealistic, but you guys were run by a literal Captain Planet villain for a while, so...
The song eventually ends with Horrible living out his fantasy of killing Hammer. Dr. Horrible is a silly series that focuses on the villain as a protagonist, kind of like Megamind in a sense, but the charisma that Harris brings to the table in this role and his usual showmanship included makes this an enjoyable treat to the ears, and super catchy as well. At least it involves suits, unlike another show I know. TV has had some weird shows in the past. One of the weirder ones to come out recently is Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, a 2015 romantic musical comedy drama starring a lawyer named Rebecca Bunch who quit her lucrative job in New York to move to California and follow her ex-boyfriend Josh Chan. The show follows Rebecca during her crusade to be with Josh, despite being in a perfectly happy relationship with his girlfriend of 15 years, Valencia Perez. Well, Rebecca gets lucky, and Josh is so moved by her breaking a large scandal and the fact that she didn't want to disappoint him that they kiss. Well, this hangs heavy on Josh, and he feels very guilty for it. Things don't go well for Rebecca either. She becomes broke, her car is repossessed, and she's stuck pawning an item from her mother just to get a ticket to follow Josh to Hawaii. Unfortunately for her, Josh confesses to Valencia about his and Rebecca's kiss. Not only does Valencia forgive him, Josh says he loves her and decides to not go to Hawaii and stay with her. Rebecca doesn't take this well and goes back to her apartment to question everything.
I try to be good to others, treat my fellow men like brothers and sisters. That's the story, I'm the hero in, so how come I can't zero in on why this song sounds so sinister?
Don't worry, honey, you'll figure it out in a second.
I'm the villain in my own story.
Yeah, this is pretty much an Are We the Baddies crisis in song form. And like many villains who don't want to admit they're villains, it's interesting to see Rebecca try to rationalize it in her mind.
Wait, how am I a villain? I give annually to UNICEF. And just last week I helped a lady cross the street who was super old and deaf.
How bad can I be? A portion of proceeds goes to charity.
Well, eventually Rebecca accepts it, and in her twisted fantasy captures Valencia, and it's pretty fun and over the top, like everything else in the show.
Anything but Prince Josh. Why are you doing this? I'm Kate Hudson.
We're doing the witch and the princess thing, okay? Just go with it. Okay.
Yeah, there are a few meta asides here and there, but they add to the comedy of this song. And eventually, this acceptance she has comes with it a realization.
I'm the villain in my own story. My actions have gone way too far. I told myself that I was Jasmine, but I realize now I'm Jafar. We're told love conquers all, but that only applies to the hero. Is the enemy what I'm meant to be? Is being the villain my destiny?
Yeah, pretty much, Rebecca. You really aren't much of a saint, and you spend the entire first season trying to break up a happy couple, trying to justify it with some unrelated petty good deeds that anyone can do doesn't help. Yeah, what was that Doctor Who quote?
You let one of them go, but that's nothing new. Every now and then a little victim's spared because she smiled, because he's got freckles, because they begged. And that's how you live with yourself. That's how you slaughter millions. Because once in a while, on a whim, if the wind's in the right direction, you happen to be kind.
Eventually, Rebecca gets what she wants in the end, but her journey goes through a bunch of twists and turns throughout the rest of the show. This early realization and aside to herself really shows how deep her personality and delusions can be before changes can occur. This song exemplifies that well, and it's a pretty good message for anyone else trying to justify their own selfish actions with petty favors. Not to say we're all innocent in that either, to be fair. We're only human after all. When Tangled first came out, it was a big hit. Along with The Princess and the Frog, this was the movie that established that Disney was back. Then it was quickly swept away after the monster success of Frozen. However, with any success comes detractors and sometimes contrarians. Whether their critiques were in good faith or not, a number of people were disappointed and found flaws upon repeated viewings. In particular, the infamous twist villain of Hans.
Oh, Hans. If only you weren't a poorly thought out villain.
This has led to a number of fans of Tangled, including yours truly, viewing it as the superior movie. Evidently, Disney noticed this and gave us Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. Despite it seeming like a lazy cash-in at first, it quickly proved us wrong with its stellar art direction, engaging plot, and surprisingly dark moments.
Wither and decay, and its destiny.
I think I peed a little.
Among the various new characters in the series, we're introduced early on to Cassandra. She's Rapunzel's handmaiden and a capable warrior in her own right. Throughout the series, we see Cassandra struggle with her own inadequacy towards Rapunzel. These feelings come to a head when Cassandra betrays her by taking the Moonstone for herself. Then she finds out that her own biological mother, the original Mother Gothel, abandoned her in favor of Rapunzel. This, along with the whole Moonstone thing, causes Cassandra to solidify her new position. Rapunzel, being the all-loving optimist that she is, attempts to convince her to come back in song form.
This has to stop now. Whatever it is that you're going through, we'll fix it together, me and you, just like we've always done.
Naturally, this would be the part where Cassandra realizes the error of her ways and rejoins Rapunzel. But in a surprisingly realistic outcome, Cassandra completely refuses and proclaims that she's following her own purpose. As she herself puts it,
Don't know how much I've been denied. Well, I'm not being patient anymore. I'm crossing the line, and I'm done holding back. So look out, clear the track, it's my turn.
it's interesting how this feels less like a villain song and more like something you'd hear a Disney princess sing.
I'm crossing the line, and I'm done holding back. So look out, clear the track, it's my turn. I'm taking what's mine, every drop, every smidge.
And that's what makes it work so well. In Cassandra's view, she's not the villain, she's the misunderstood underdog hero who's willing to do what it takes for the greater good. To Cassandra, this is her big moment, where she tells us that she is going to accomplish her goals. Yeah, Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure is seriously underrated, and I'm so upset with myself that it took me this long to truly appreciate it. So, with this work of subversive genius in mind, I have one question.
Why can't the live-action remakes be a fraction this good?
In the future, entertainment will be randomly generated.
Alright, now we got the whole predicting the internet thing that everyone's made a joke of. Let's talk Veggietales.
Veggietales is one of my biggest nostalgic franchises. I grew up watching the series and I still enjoy it as an adult. It managed to strike the right balance between funny, informative, and clever. With it spanning so long, I had absolutely no shortage of villain songs to pick from. The Bunny song, which oddly got censored, is a bouncin' oogie boogie style set piece. But I think for the best villain song, I'm going to have to go with Haman's song.
Boo! What? It's Jewish tradition to boo Haman whenever his name is mentioned. I have to respect other cultures after all.
For context, this song comes from Esther, the girl who became queen. After Esther and Mordecai save the king from death by Looney Tunes,
why is there a piano on my cake?
This prompts Haman, the main villain, into action. See, Haman is a vicious anti-Semite and would love nothing more than to see all Jews exterminated. If the king starts liking his sworn enemies, then how is he ever going to accomplish his goals? He then sets out to convince King Ahasuerus that all the Jews should be killed. Though in typical Veggietales kidification, it's been replaced with banishment to the island of perpetual tickling.
The island where you are tickled day and night, night and day, without stop, not even if you say protein, please.
Death or eternal tickling? Not sure which is worse.
And if that wasn't bad enough, Esther herself is Jewish, but hid that fact from the king and Haman. So the stakes are raised. For such a lighthearted series, the song pulls very few punches and instead elect to deliver those punches in unexpected ways.
A sneaky little family who do sneaky little things, who stick their sneaky noses into matters of the king.
That was allowed.
As uncomfortable as these lyrics may seem, this is what people believed. This was the prevailing attitude towards Jews at the time, and unfortunately, even to this day. Haman is essentially that guy who tries to convince you that your quirky but otherwise harmless neighbor was plotting against your country. To put it another way, it's kinda like Savages from Pocahontas, a song where the villain uses bigotry to convince other people to cause suffering over petty reasons. In this case, not getting a bow from Mordecai. Despite Veggietales being a kid's series, it doesn't shy away from depicting how utterly despicable of a villain Haman was. At the same time though, it manages to depict him in a way that's fun while still getting the point across. With that said, I do have one incredibly minor nitpick with how Haman is depicted here. Where's his hat? You know, the same hat that has a traditional cookie based off of it?
Yeah, another Jewish tradition is to make cookies based off of one of their most hated figures. Well, then again, we Christians used to buy our way out of hell, so glass houses and all that.
Hey, senor, you're very angry right now, aren't you? Would you like to go on a rampage?
Come wayward souls over the garden wall. Ugh. The context of the actual song give me goosebumps. This is how we will end it. Total Drama World Tour. A duet between two diabolical lovers with an NSYNC twist. Master of Your Fate, Teen Titans. A villain song and a magic show. 2 for the price of 1, but the other songs were just a little bit better. Any King K. Rool song from Donkey Kong Country. Kill It With Fire, but okay, admit it. We all loved how awkward the DK songs were. Rappin' Draken, Kim Possible. Hello, young person. I am also the hip rap star. Please buy Mind Control shampoo. We Are Number 1, Lazy Town. Rest in peace, Mr. Stephenson.
Gotta let your anger speak. Live in La Furiosa.
Ooh, this looks like my territory again. Okay, there were a lot of songs to...
Josh Scorcher channel. Shoot.
All right, I'm leaving. Sheesh, you take the separate channels thing a little too seriously.
I really annoy me sometimes.
It wasn't that hard to pick Equestria Girls Under Our Spell for the non-Disney movie songs list early this month, but picking a song from My Little Pony itself, not so easy because there are quite a few great villain songs. But rules are rules, so my choice for the show's best villain song and the best TV villain song has to be... You Just Can't Be a Dragon Here. I mean, yeah, the episode was a huge letdown and Sludge is an opportunistic waste of space, but okay, I can't keep up the joke. It's This Day, Aria!
This day is going to be perfect. The kind of day of which I dreamed since I was small.
Just a brief recap for those who have never seen the season 2 finale of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Chrysalis, the then Queen of the Changelings, disguises herself as Princess Cadance and hijacks her wedding. She locked the real Cadance in the caverns underneath the palace and manipulated all of Twilight's friends and family against her, locking her in the caverns as well. As Twilight and Cadance race to escape, Chrysalis is getting ready for the final piece in her master plan. But in the spirit of kids' fantasy, the scene is presented to us in song. A triumphant, menacing aria sung by both Cadance and Chrysalis.
Wait a minute.
By now you might be asking me, wait a second, Josh, how can it be an aria if there's 2 singers singing the singer thing? And here's where they got creative with the song. Yes, it's technically a duet, but with one single actress voicing both characters. and doing an amazing job capturing both their personalities. Chrysalis being more underhanded and sinister.
No, I do not love the groom. In my heart there is no room, but I still want him to be all mine.
While the real Cadence is more worried and yet also at the same time hopeful.
I'll be lying if I say I don't fear that I may lose him to one who wants to use him, not care for love and cherish him each day.
I know it may seem like This Day aria is overplayed or even overrated since a lot of the fandom loves this song to death. But there's a reason for that. The parallel lyrics, the dynamic singing with one actress doing the work of two, and the grandiose feel that the music gives us, making it feel like something out of Disney or Broadway. This point on, the threats in MLP would only get worse, and this song welcomed that shift in tone with the most creative use of an aria to date.
I'm the Fiery Joker, and next week we're gonna close out Villain Songs Month with a bit of a return to form. Video game villain songs.
Cut!
Hey everyone, this is Josh. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the video around. Please check out my other social media like my Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr. Check out my other channels such as Joshua Burner for reactions and other stuff, Dragon Fighter Gaming for tabletop, and Bob Equestria for cartoons. Consider checking below the video and donating to my Patreon, Streamlabs for my merchandise, or becoming a YouTube member. Thanks for watching.